Hey guys, Tree John coming at you another Watcher of Realms video. In this video, we are going to dive into very quickly the top defenders in Watchers of Realms. And the reason why we're going to talk about this topic first over all the other types of champions out there is because your defenders are kind of like your first line of defense against making sure that you don't lose points on your shard and keeping it safe. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to break it down for you. I'm going to give you the top 5 best. And out of those top 5 best, we'll probably throw in a couple of extra that are more budget that I think a lot of people may need to focus on because they may not be able to get some of these champions right off the get-go. All right, so first things first, the first champion that we are going to talk about in the best defender category is going to be one of my personal favorites. So I have a couple. But when it comes to defenders, right? So when we go to gallery and we say, let's go down to the defenders, I love this aspect. So I'm an MMO player by heart. Like this is what I love to do. Like Final Fantasy 14 was my jam. I played a lot of World of Warcraft. I also checked out like Guild Wars 2. I played for a little bit as well. I didn't get into it as much, but I love that genre, right? Elder Scrolls Online. I was obsessed with that one back in the day, right after Skyrim released. But anyways, so I look at defenders first. In these types of games, that was the first thing that caught my eye. Like, yes, I love the simple fact that there are defenders that are going to block an objective. To me, that's like a tank in any other game. So I wanted to focus on this primarily, mainly because I know from those types of games and raid mechanics, if you don't have the correct tank, you're never going to progress. So let's go ahead and let's dive into the top 5 in Watchers of Realms. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to say the top 5 right now. We're going to literally try to list them in order, and then we'll dive into them. So those of you who don't want to maybe necessarily stick around for the entire video of the synopsis as to why, that's fine, but at least you get the information that you're looking for and you can go ahead and move on to the next video. All right, so first things first, my personal favorite, I'm going to put him at number 1 here. I also have him, so I've been able to test him and play with him, so that's why I know he's so good, is going to be Toreador. So Toreador is going to be number 1. Number 2, this may going to surprise you just a little bit. I'm going to say King Hearts is number 2. 100% he's going to be the second best defender in the game, mainly because of his freeze ability here. We'll dive into that a little bit further. Number 3 is going to be more of on the budget side, which a lot of people are going to be able to acquire, and that's going to be Baron. I'm definitely going to give Baron the number 3 spot, especially for sustainability, ease of use. He's very quick to come across. I know a lot of people out there have gotten him a lot sooner than others, so to speak, and it makes a massive difference on their account. He kind of takes care of himself. The 4th one that we're going to talk about is actually going to be another epic, and that's going to be Ulag. Now, I don't have Ulag, but after going through all the kits recently, I discovered him, and he's got a couple things to me that really stand out. And then last but not least, the 5th one that we're going to say is probably going to be the best. It's going to be actually one of these newer units, and that's going to be Captain Reed. He is massive as well, but I think he's going to be more late game than early game defender. So that's going to be the top 5 right there for those of you who just want to see that and get it over with. Some other, I guess, honorable mentions is going to be champions such as Rex is decent to start out with. He's one of those starting characters that you're going to get. He's not god awful, but he's definitely not god tier. I wouldn't put a whole lot of resources into him. And another one that's fairly common to get as well is going to be Livian. She's not terrible either. However, her kit is a little lackluster in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the defender realm. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's dive into the breakdown as to what makes all these characters the best. Okay, so let's start with the number 1 that we said, Toreador. So Toreador himself has a very interesting kit. He has a lot going on his kit, we'll say it this way. Okay, so 1, he's a faction leader. So he has his Nightmare Power, Lord skill. So increases faction allies' basic attribution by 15% every time a faction ally is deployed. All deployed faction allies gain up to 35% attack speed. That's huge. So if you have a lot of his faction, guess what? He's going to go ahead and buff them all, and that's huge. That's massive gains and massive gains. Also, you will see that what is this? Attack speed respectively up to 35%. However, the received healing effects are reduced by 15%. Faction allies' basic attacks has a 30% chance of landing an extra hit. So healing is negated by 15%. This seems to be kind of common in those very good type of Lord skills. Also, the 30% extra hit is massive for his faction. So that's just passive, right? That's just passive. He's on the field. So let's talk about his A1. A1 is pretty generic. Nothing major going on here. It's going to be deals 100% damage to one enemy. After receiving, activating, increases self attack by 80, damage dealt by 80%, attacks multiple enemies within range. It's pretty good range. It's a lot of damage that he does, which is huge. That's not even the key pivotal moment. When we talk about atrocious trample, attack has a 20% chance of triggering an AoE attack, which AoEs, as we all know, are amazing, especially for defenders who are going to be stacking or blocking multiple other enemies coming in. So AoE is huge with a chance to stun, right? Now, when Hellfire Burning is activated, the chance of triggering increases and the attack range changes. So basically it grows. Okay, so keep that in mind. But the best thing about him is the simple fact that if, let's say he fails, he's your defender, oh no, my defender died. 9 out of 10 times, it means you're done, runs gonzo. He has a built-in revive. Revives after the first death in battle, restoring 50% HP and 60% rage. This effect can only be triggered one time per deployment. So basically, after he dies, if he revives, you can actually remove him from the field and replace someone else down temporarily, let his cooldown go through, and then do it again. Now, that's basically how this is worded. So it's infinite at that point. Now, this is only very common to do in battles such as like the guild boss or something along those lines, or just let him keep riding out until he dies. It's kind of each their own depending on how you want to play it. But this itself is huge, right? Also, talent. Each attack inflicts defensive reduction on the target for 5 seconds. Additionally, when Torador is deployed or revived, it increases attack and defense by 20% for 15 seconds. Defensive down is massive. So already his kit is bonkers. Range is good. Overall, in general, is huge. Also, he can block 3 enemies, and that's what you want to see on every defender that you're utilizing. All right, the next one that we're going to talk about is the number 2 that I said, and that was going to be King Hearts. So King Hearts is the number 2. He's very, very well known in the game. Actually, I think a lot of people will probably place him at number 1. I personally wouldn't because I don't have him, so I don't know. In theory, I know how good he is. Practicality, I don't really know, unfortunately. But obviously, A1 attack here. Notice that as this levels up, it's extra rage regen attack, which is huge. Extra rage regen is massive for getting out this ultimates, which we all want to do. Also, you can see he blocks 3 here, and when King is shielded, his attack has 20% chance to inflict the enemy with a freeze. Why are we saying this now after his A1 says nothing about shield? It's because he also has a Lord skill that essentially grants a shield randomly, passively throughout the battles to all the players. Now, if he has a shield, then at that point he can start freezing people, which is huge. If he's freezing people and is constantly doing damage, it means it's going to keep his shield for longer. If he keeps his shield for longer, he's going to continually freeze. It's a vicious cycle, if you get what I'm saying. Next, he also has an AoE for his ultimate, which is huge. He's a blocker. He's blocking by 3, right? That's huge. You want to make sure that when they're doing that, they can block for 3 and do a bunch of damage. He totally does that. Now, also, he takes 15% less physical damage with any type of shield. So his passive not only is going to help him with the shield and the freeze, but he's also going to take less damage when he is shielded by 15%. So far he's becoming super, super tanky. Also, every time he receives a shield, it increases the shield strength by 35%. So he gets a massive shield. So basically he's a shield battery, and he will almost never not have a shield unless you're very under level. The only problem with this kit is there is no self-sustaining healing, so to speak, so you'll definitely need to pair him with a healer if his shields start to fail. Also, if you awaken him, I do believe Fury of Winter generates a shield to protect all surrounding allies within 1 adjacent tile, and overall in general, solid defender. All right, next one that we're going to talk about is actually going to be my favorite, and that's going to be Baron. Baron is by far one of the most sustainable, easy to build, low cost type champions. One, his cost is 18, which is fine, blocks 3. The biggest thing though is the simple fact that his ultimate, basically he has an oh crap moment where if he gets a fatal shot here, what's going to happen is he's going to proc this Moral Wrath. It's going to essentially save his butt. It's going to stay alive for a little bit, and he's going to do an AoE damage when he comes out of it, which is going to be helpful for clearing out the enemies. And then also with that, he's also going to be proccing, say, an awakened ability, where if you awaken 5 him, it's going to recover 50% of his HP. So at that point, he's going to self-sustain and stay alive, which is huge. His A1, nothing to brag home about. His A2 is cast a shield that can absorb damage equal to 70% of max HP for 10 seconds. Max HP is huge on Baron because it also works with his AoE damage proc here if he starts to fail. And if you build him super tanky and he does start to fail and he does the AoE damage, he's going to do a massive amount of damage in front of him. But this shield alone generates well enough to where he just destroys. Like, he will destroy enemies and take damage all day long and survive. I can literally place him down on my guild boss and he never dies. He sustains himself with the shield and with the healing that he does. Awakening is very easy to do. You get a lot of dupes of him, so it's very nice to go ahead and awaken him. He's very it's not as hard to do it, let's just put it that way. Olog is going to be the next one. Now, Olog, like we said, he's the number 4. Reason why we're calling him number 4 is simply for the fact that I don't really have him. In theory, he could be potentially better. And I do love the fact of his kit. We're going to dive into it. But first things first, you see his block is 3. His cost is 18. This is very, very common here, right? A1, nothing special, nothing to brag home about. A2, and now we start getting into some interesting things. Stops attacking and shifts to a defense stance for 25 seconds. Now, this is an ultimate. It costs 1,000 rage, and he also increases physical damage reduction by 40 per seconds. But the thing is the stance is for 25 seconds. Now, it does get boosted up a little bit, up to 30 seconds, so half a minute, which is huge. But at that point, he adds 1 additional block. So he's already 3, so then he becomes 4. So if you have a pivotal moment in your fight, notice once again, this is a manual ability, you can go ahead and proc that ultimate at that pivotal moment. And that'll allow you to go ahead and stack up the blocks a little bit better. And also reducing physical damage reduction by 40% is massive, which gets booked up to what, 50% basically. He mitigates a lot. So it makes him sustainability a lot better. And then when you look at his last silver shield auto here is every 12 seconds, cast a shield that can absorb damage equal to 50% of his max HP. Notice that when this ability is ultimate is active, it's 30 seconds. That means he's also going to proc at least 2, almost 3 shields in this time, allowing him to absorb even more damage on top of this 40% here. And if you put him with a high rage regen set, it's going to be able to proc this over and over and over and over again. It's going to give him a lot of self-sustain and a major healing. However, once again, he does not have the automatic healing type built into him like Baron and what is it? Baron and I don't know why I just forgot the names. Torador, but he does offer a lot in the defender realm overall, and definitely one of this, I would say, top 5 defenders in the game. All right, I think the last one that we had mentioned, if I remember correctly, is going to be Captain Reeve. Now, the reason why Captain Reeve is, I would put him at 5 out of 5, as only because, 1, he's newer, he's legendary as well. 2, he does a lot more damage than blocking. I don't necessarily see him as a blocker, more as I see him as more of a damage dealer. And the reason why is because of his kit. So first off, let's say his talent. For every 4 enemies killed on the battlefield, increase this hero's attack speed by 10. So basically he kills 40 enemies in a battle. His attack speed goes up to 100. That's massive. So that's doing a lot of damage. Next is gold mastery. So it gets you a lot of gold, which is huge. But his passive here, right? Bond skill, obtain hero Razak to unlock the following bonus effect. Gold obtained through battles. Oh, never mind. This is this one here. It's not the one I'm thinking of. This passive. When attacking enemy targets under control, restore 3% of max HP. So he has the sustain here, max HP restoration. He also has this other passive where he inflicts slow on 5 enemies in range. So his range is very low though, unfortunately, but when they are in range, he does a crap ton of damage. And then his ultimate here is during the ultimate, each attack deals 200% AoE, so he's doing a lot of damage. Once again, he could be considered a blocker, but most of his kit synergizes around the simple fact that he's going to do damage more so than anything. But you also notice that basically when he's maxed out here, he's only going to be at very low tile cost. His cost is 19, which is 1 more. His block is there as well. Overall in general though, he's a solid champion. It's just one of the situations where he can do more damage for you and other things than so much as just be a defender, so to speak. Also, his awakenings are not terrible, but once again, legendary and getting awakenings is very hard. But notice that basically his first awakening is for every 4 attacks landed, the next attack deals 150% AoE damage to enemies in range and inflicting stun, which is huge. But once again, that's 4 attacks landed, so it's got to be proccing over and over again to kind of get major effect in use case of this. That's why we're going to leave him at number 5, but he does do a massive amount of damage. He hits hard, and that's why he's definitely one of the upper ones on the list. Now, we'll talk about a couple other budget ones, so let's go ahead and run through those real quick. Rex being the most budget out of them all. Very basic defense here, control, auto cast, wields the sword, retribution, striking up to 3 enemies within 1 tile ahead, dealing AoE damage and inflicting them with stun. Stun is very good, especially on a budget champion like Rex. And then you move over here to the auto here with bulwark. Every 30 seconds cast a shield that can absorb damage equal to 40% of his max HP. Allows him to have that built-in sustain with the shields where you don't necessarily have to have him healed the entire time. However, because he is a rare at this point, he's very squishy. He's also super quick and easy to awaken, but notice that his awakenings don't do anything except for his tier 5, which is damage reduction. He doesn't really modify his kit, unfortunately, which is why he kind of comes in at like a budget defender if you're really starting out. I would recommend investing in him though if you do not have one of the other aforementioned champions. The other one that we're going to talk about very briefly is Livian. I've tried to utilize her for doing blocking. I just don't feel like I get what her kit is supposed to offer, and that could be my own playstyle or gameplay. However, she can potentially work out well for you guys if you are looking for like an AoE. Once again, the shield bounce triggered by attack can bounce 1 more times, so she can go ahead and attack multiple monsters that are adjacent to each other, especially during her ultimate. So it's definitely, she has some chances to do a lot of things, right? She's got potential. However, practicality of utilizing her, I haven't really seen it, and that once again could be 100% on me. But her kit reads very well, especially with her basically restoring 3% HP upon retrieving her shield. So eventually it'll come back once it gets lodged into an enemy, I think, and then she retrieves it, and then she gets a heal. So that does give her a little bit of sustain. So if you do have Livian, she could be potentially a sustain blocker for you. Cost is right on par with everyone else, and she could block up to 3 champions. Awakening, I honestly didn't look at it. Oh, shield bounce can bounce 1 more time. That's a good awakening for her, and restores 1 more % HP, bringing it up to 4%. That's good. And initial rage goes up higher, so she procs her ultimate faster. So overall, in general, very good budget type champion for those starting out. But I would definitely stick to those top 5 defenders, because in any other game out there, your defenders are really what will make and break your strategies for defending. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys also agreed with my top 5. If not, leave a comment down below on what your top 5 is of defenders. Maybe you have a slightly different order than me and some reasonings behind it. I would love to hear more. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.